Hello there. In this video you will find out how to have a conversation. And now you're like, but I already know how to talk to other people. In fact, I'm quite good at it. And I'm sure you are. But while most people can handle a casual conversation about the weather or their favorite movie, many are frankly quite terrible at having a more meaningful conversation with intent to explore a meaningful topic. This video will give you some tools that can help you become better at having such a conversation, which is a useful skill both in school and in real life. And also interaction makes up a huge chunk of your grade in English, so there's that as well. We begin by clarifying the difference between a casual conversation and an academic conversation. A casual conversation is the most common type you have with your friends or parents. Basically, you talk to socialize or to exchange information, but the conversation lacks a specific goal other than being entertaining and maybe making you feel good. In contrast, an academic conversation is characterized by an intent to focus on a specific topic and explore it by building, challenging, and negotiating relevant ideas. In extremely simple terms, it is a conversation with a purpose. This is the type of conversation you should have in class, and not a casual one. However, many people, and I mean people, not just students, struggle with academic conversations, so we need to practice this. Look at this example of an all too common classroom conversation. Student A reads a prompt that they are supposed to answer. Student B provides the answer, and student A quickly agrees with that answer, and then they both feel like they are finished. This is a missed learning opportunity. So what can we do to improve upon this and make it into something where students learn something and practice speaking English? First, let's cover what it means to build on and develop an idea, like the answer that student B gave, in general. Then we will touch on how you do this in a conversation with someone else. Imagine that there are 4 possible levels of development of an idea, where the first level is basically no depth, and on the final level the idea is well developed and nuanced, which is the requirement for an A. Level 1 features basically no meaningful depth. This is about the level that most casual conversations are at. You know, simple small talk about the weather and so on. At level 2, you are talking about a specific topic and forming an idea. The example we used earlier would probably end up here. Student B did, after all, present an idea and answer the question, which is great, and maybe that answer was brilliant, but that doesn't actually matter because neither A nor B knew how to develop that idea any further. The most common reasons for why many conversations never go further than level 2 is because your partner either agrees with you, so no further development feels necessary, or he or she changes topic. To reach level 3, you'd have to focus on the idea and take care of it a little. Give it some love and nurture it by adding meaningful details such as elaborations and examples. In our example here, the main culprit is perhaps student A, who blindly agreed with student B that the text was about courage, instead of asking how student B knew that. Like I said earlier, maybe this idea was brilliant, but without details like examples from the text that shows this, or perhaps an interpretation on what made the character's actions reflect courage, the answer is not very satisfying. To reach the final level, you need to also consider alternative perspectives to your idea, also known as nuance. For this to even be possible, you need to have explored the topic a bit. Often by doing that, you realize that there are multiple ways to view something. Perhaps the idea that the character acted bravely is not the only possibility. Maybe you could interpret his actions as stupid, or selfish, or, many things. To show nuance is to acknowledge that these different perspectives exist. We have now covered what a developed idea looks like. Developing ideas by yourself is not that hard, but doing so in a conversation with someone else who has different opinions and different ideas than you can be a bit tricky. I'm going to now present 4 skills that you can practice, which will help you steer yourself and your partner towards more meaningful and deeper conversations. Each of the 4 skills is actually a double skill, meaning that either you use the skill yourself, or if you are the one listening, you need to ask your partner to do so when needed. To know when this is needed, you have to listen carefully. These skills overlap considerably, and some are used in certain situations more than others. The first skill is knowing when you need to clarify what you mean and maybe also why you reason the way you do. And of course, as this is a double skill, ask your partner to always clarify when he or she presents an idea. Without elaboration, a conversation dies very quickly. If we look at the earlier example, what is missing here are details from student B on why he felt that the text was about courage. Either student B himself should have presented these details in the first place, or student A should have prodded student B for more details. See how it is a double skill? If either one of these two had stopped and remembered skill number 1, this conversation could have been saved. Here's the thing. We tend to want to understand other people, so we often fill in missing gaps of information by ourselves. So if I say teachers are so annoying, people are more likely to say, yeah, I agree with that, than to ask, what do you mean? Which would be a more appropriate response. Because really, you have no idea what I meant with teachers are so annoying. Maybe I meant that they are so annoying because they are so awesome, right? Yeah. Anyway, train yourself to not fill these gaps and instead make your partner actually clarify what they meant instead. A great way to clarify your thinking is to use an example, which brings us to the second skill. An example can clarify something. Note how often I use examples in my videos to show what I mean, but they can also be used as evidence to strengthen an idea or argument. Let's say you're talking about how a character in a text is brave. Making an actual reference to the point in the text where this happens is very useful and allows for a deeper exploration of that idea. What if your partner does not draw the same conclusion? All of a sudden you have 2 perspectives to explore and negotiate, which is a great start towards nuance. The third skill is all about remembering that exploring a topic and developing ideas about that topic is the goal of your conversation, and that your partner sometimes has valuable ideas. After all, you aren't the only participant in the conversation. In a conversation, it is common that people focus too much on themselves and what they are going to say next, instead of listening to what their partner is saying and explore their ideas. Look at this example. Can you spot the error? B presented an idea, but A didn't even stop to consider it before presenting his own idea. This is such a waste. If both A or B feel like they have good answers, then that's a great foundation for a deep and nuanced conversation. All you have to do is to start by exploring B's idea, since that came first. Then you can go to A's idea next. Look, maybe A had a great point, but smothering his partner's ideas instantly is counterproductive. A should have kept his idea in the back of his head or written it down and then asked B to elaborate on his idea first. Another way to develop a partner's idea is to challenge it in a respectful way. Disagreeing with your partner's idea is actually almost cheating and something that I strongly advise that you try, because it basically forces your partner to use skill 1, which was to elaborate and clarify their thinking, and then skill 2, which was to use examples to convince you. Such a conversation is almost always guaranteed to be well developed. Finally, there is skill 4, which is to synthesize conversation points. Now, synthesize is a fancy word, which means to combine parts into a conclusion. In a conversation, lots of ideas, both useful and not very useful, float around, and it is important to keep track of them. Synthesizing conversation points means to remember what you talked about and fit together the most useful points that you brought up in your discussion into a shared conclusion. This should be done at the end of all conversations. And sometimes it can even take a while, because to form a conclusion you need to negotiate with your partner which ideas were the most on point. This often opens up new ideas or perspectives, which can lead to a nuanced result. Great, now do remember that these are skills, as in you need to practice using them. We will of course do so in class, but how about you try it out in other situations as well? I think you'll find that actually listening and asking people about their opinions is something people generally appreciate. So when your friend says, "I really hate that movie," take the time to ask them what they hated about it, rather than just fill in the gap with what you assume that they meant.